We're live.
Hello, welcome, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Heart of Oneness Network channel. My name is K&A, co-founder of the Heart of Oneness Holistic Expo, and I am joined with fellow co-host Matt Riley, who is also my beloved partner and soulmate. The purpose and intention of this channel is to connect hearts far and wide while offering up a container of spiritual enlightenment that supports you on your path of self-discovery and awareness. Today, we are so excited to welcome our next guest, Michele Granberg, who is a mindset coach, hypnotherapist, meditation teacher, laughter therapist, TV show host, vegan, and animal activist. Michele is a dynamic workshop leader whose background in counseling and psychology makes her a highly sought-after trainer and presenter who has been serving the local community in Princeton, New Jersey for the last 18 years while expanding her reach and impact through her weekly positive TV show on Princeton Community Television. Michele believes that one's emotional and physical issues arise from a fundamental disconnect from one's true spiritual essence. So Michele, welcome and thank you for joining us today and sharing your insights and wisdoms with our viewers. If you will, explain to us what a mindset coach is, and did you always feel the calling, and what makes working with you so transformational?
Great. Yes, I am, a full-time helper and healer and coach and counselor and intuitive. It's really a blessing to be able to work with people intimately the way that I do. I really do deep transformational work with people. It's very targeted and it's very goal-oriented. I always say I like to make the most of our time together, work quickly, and work on in a significant way. I take a psycho-spiritual approach, which means that I view every person as a whole person and that everyone has the fluid interaction between human and spirit going on with them. I incorporate universal truths so that I see that person from a higher perspective and we can assign broader meaning to the challenges that they face. So basically, a mindset coach is someone who helps, using tools, help someone to return to a more positive baseline for their own mind. We work with I work with their conscious mind in that way. It's a lot of dialoguing and a lot of inquiring, but we also do subconscious work.
Yes. I love that. I love that. And, before we go even deeper into that a little bit, I think one of the first things I, want to share with some of our viewers is just how dynamic you are. You bring forth such a beautiful, grounded, focused practice. And yet I think one of the greatest things that I appreciate about you is how you live your life passionately, about all those things that are so important to you. It shows so clearly on your website, and, anyone that really meets you just sees it as well. Matt and I feel very privileged to know you a little bit, outside of just meeting here today for the interview. I mean, we have been very blessed and grateful that you have joined in on one of our events. And I think that's where we really, really kind of got to know you. And then, of course, as we'll dive in a little bit later, we really tapped into that place of you that's really passionate now about your veganism and animal activism. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But I just wanted to say that. So thank you again for being here with us. I want to take a look and see, one of the things that kind of led us to you, believe it or not, was Matt, right? It was really Matt who walked through your doors of your practice. I don't know how long ago it was, babe, but
It's gotta be
I'm sure you
4 years
remember.
ago.
Yeah,
It's
I think it
at
was
least 3-4 years ago. Yeah.
And he actually sought you out because he was looking to have a past life regression experience with you. So I know, talk to us a little bit about what that was like for you, how your training with Brian Weis went, and how, that kind of fed you obviously on your path and kind of brought you to where you are today.
Sure. Past life regression therapy is really the bulk of my work. People are seeking it out more than ever before. And I think that it's reflective of a larger fundamental shift in our consciousness, that people are saying that exploring the psychology of who they are doesn't quite show the entire picture of who they are. So I started books like Brian Weis's books. So I just started out as a fan of Brian Weis, certainly, but his work resonated so deeply with me that I knew I had to pursue it on a professional level. So I did seek out and complete training with Dr. Brian Weis, who's an internationally known trainer all over the world to this day, which was very helpful. And so now what I do is people come to me, and one-on-one, I actually help them to remember their past lives. And then not just curiosity, it satisfies some curiosity for them, but it's so much more than that. We use the past life memories as the launch, the starting point for some therapeutic value. In other words, there's always plenty to learn from the past. Exploring it so that we can have a better present and have an even more informed and conscious future. And so, as Matt can attest, the way in which we do that is by creating a supportive space, a non-judgmental sacred space, and then I lead someone into a light state of trance. A light state of trance. It's not mystical or mysterious. It's simply a meditative or dreamy state, and that just makes it much more likely and probable that we can access those subconscious or soul level past life memories. But the truth is, everybody has past lives. Those memories are not lost. You do not have amnesia to them. In fact, quite the opposite. They're probably coming up throughout the day, and they're affecting us. And so we want to know about them, so we're not blind to why we have patterns or fears, why we have weaknesses, and why we love the people we love very often. Why we feel strongly about people, places, and things often can be traced back to past lives, carrying all of that forward.
Yeah, I know for me, it was transformed. It's got to be at least 3 or 4 years ago, but it was something that innately I was looking for. I found you online, called you up, and for me, it was transformative because it answered a lot of questions about patterns that I had been experiencing.
Yeah.
And my wife and I had discussed, and I could never figure out why I fell into certain patterns, watched certain shows. So literally we had 2 hours together, and really it transformed me greatly because it answered a ton of questions, why I was doing this, and then what steps I could take to change it. So that's, like I said, several years ago. So everything's transformed greatly because I understood why I was watching. For me, it was a lot about war and violence. It was multiple past lives came up, but it had very similar patterns. So for me, it was like, that's why I'm watching all these war movies, and because that's where I felt. So by taking that in the present out of my life and not exposing it to me, it sort of helps my subconscious heal. So it was like I said, I was at 2 hours. I remember walking out of there bawling, my wife in the car, but it really, to me, like I said, it answered a lot of questions and really helped a lot of patterns and really saying a lot of ahas out of it. And that was literally one session. So it's interesting. All these people that come into our lives that we meet, different blocks, they help you, if you're open to it, really to unlock and move to your potential. You can either take that advice or not, but it really helps move these roadblocks and helps you become a better you.
Yeah, your experience is unique to you, but also very common and a universal experience. It's a life review. Basically, what past life regression is you become the observer of a past life. You know it's you in that past life, and yet you're also in the position of the observer. And there's something very healing about that. You can say, I'm still me, I'm still alive, yet I'm watching this life
Yeah.
where I lived and I died. That means I don't die. That in and of itself is very healing and transformative. And it's time we recognize that we have soul agreements, that the people who come into our lives are there by choice and by design and by premeditation. They are with us, and it's all for a higher good. Even if they push our buttons and challenge us, when we look at life through that broader lens, we recognize the real reasons, the real underlying, always for the highest good. There are no mistakes and there are no accidents in terms of the people, places, and things in our lives. They've been put there by us in advance, potentially with the assistance of the universe, that greater intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, on firsthand knowledge that anybody who has any interest in it, I would definitely reach out to Michele, because again, for me, it just, in literally a 2-hour session, it opened up years of like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing these patterns? What's going on? And again, my wife and I had conversations about, why are you watching this? Something's got to be there. And you were able to really extract it out, or really give me that aha and say, okay. And again, by taking certain steps, I've learned to be more joyous and not going down those patterns.
Yeah, and I can definitely bear witness. You know, I lived it and walked with him by his side as he had to really reclaim those pieces, if you will, of himself, that through that lens of perception he felt a particular way about. And it was just really, really, really profound. Very, very profound. Which also, you know, Michele, I feel like it leads us into that space of that quantum reality that we are all really living, right? And, you know, for some, you know, myself, I feel like, you know, when we call forth those memories of past lives, if you will, it really is within that space of no time, because we're feeling it in the here and now, right? And I feel like it's all within that container of the quantum. So I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit on that, like how you feel about it. I think we'd love to just hear your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. It sort of blows the door off of everything and makes us realize that there's a lot we don't know more than what we do know. When we live life only through the physical senses, which most people are living mostly through their rational mind and through their physical senses, it's like experiencing life through a tiny little keyhole. It's just a minute little facet. It's just the surface of life in terms of existence. So, you know, absolutely, we are these forms. We're forms of energy. We're forms of consciousness. But we seem to be separate, and yet we are not separate. We are threads in this universal tapestry that is vast, so vast that there's no way our minds can really comprehend it. And I think that this type of exploration is, how far down the rabbit hole do you really want to go? It makes us realize that we are just so much more than who we think we are. And then it's not just a sweet little meme to say we are one. We hear that, we are one, and the sages have said it and the mystics have said it, but it's literal. It's literal and actual. We are actual mirrors of each other. We
I love that you said that. Yeah.
Walking, breathing embodiments of divine. It's who we are. And so it really, hopefully, knowing that, you know, is comforting. It's comforting to me. It doesn't mean that I feel any less invested in my day-to-day life. But it means that when I bump up against the things that I bump up against, I can say to myself, all of this is really happening for a reason, and I believe it. Or I can say, I know that this is in some ways a dream-like illusion, a very life-like dream, a life-like illusion that we're all willingly participating in. We haven't been forced to be here. We're not here under duress. We're not victims of our experience. In fact, we are the creators of our reality. And on some level, we have everything I've just said. We haven't forgotten any of it. We are aware of it because we're it's who we are. So,
wow, I love that. Absolutely love that. So what would you like, how do you navigate when someone comes to you and maybe they're a little closed off at even beginning to open up into the space of oneness, like you said, like being able to integrate, right? So many times you see people who are seeking help and they may show up and appear, and yet they still have these blocks that just prevent them from moving into that next space. What's your approach when you're with a client who might just be struggling to move into that space and they want to?
Well, I have to meet everyone where they are. Certainly. So a lot of what I do is active listening, which is very powerful.
Yeah.
Being seen and heard is really the first step. People often just want to be seen and heard and not judged. So that's really kind of the first step. And then I begin to help them move in sort of like positive psychology believes that we all have these innate strengths and this innate wisdom. So really all the answers are within them. I don't really have the answers per se, but I can certainly be there to guide them. We have this part of us that is very critical. We have self-talk that's very critical. And so I try to help people separate from the talk, that the talk is this voice, but that they are not their thoughts and they are not those voices. And if I can get them to pry an opening between the two, to recognize that, yes, I have these habitual thoughts, but they're more like tapes running over and over and over again. And for some people, that's a brand new concept. So that alone is like an aha moment.
Yeah.
And then tools. We all need tools. So a tool for that might be mindfulness and meditation. Those are two of the best tools for everything because they have such endless applications in terms of putting us in the witnessing position of ourselves, the compassionate witnessing position. So anybody with a little bit of dedication can learn some simple mindfulness practices, some meditation practices, and I would also, maybe bring some hypnotherapy there, but it's sort of, right, bringing a whole new light to what they are.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Love that. Perfect. So I think, Matt, one of the other things that we really wanted to bring home with Michele was to invite you to speak a little bit about your TV show. How you have just been doing this work, and being out there in the media and offering your beautifulness that you offer. And so just talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh, thanks for asking about my TV show. I really do appreciate that. I've been hosting my own TV show called Positive Energy TV since 2014.
Yep.
And so I've done a lot of shows. The show it's local cable access TV, but it does air on Princeton Television, and it streams live on their website, princetontv.org. But all of my shows, it's easier to find them. Like everything's easy to find these days on the internet.
Absolutely.
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 You can find them all on my website, but you can also find them on YouTube, my YouTube channel, and my Vimeo channel. And the show really started as an extension of what I used to do at my center and what I do for a living, having guests that do similar things, colleagues of mine, and giving them a platform and educating people. And now it's moved even more so in the direction of my even bigger mission and cause, which is the animals. So of late, I've been mainly focusing on those topics, animals, how magical animals are themselves. A lot of shows about that, as well as veganism, the hows and the whys and the mechanics of that, as well as animal rights activism. I feature activists.
Yes. So, I have to go here. I have to ask you the question, which came first, the veganism or the animal activism, or did they all kind of unfold together for you?
Yeah, the veganism came first, and that led very, very, very soon after to the animal rights activism, because for me, veganism is a form of animal rights activism. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's only the beginning. for me and many of the activists that I know and love, it's only the beginning. It's the very least we can do for the animals is not eat them and not drink their secretion, not eat their flesh and not drink their secretions. So we really want people to know, because veganism is a bit of a buzzword these days, and I still find that there's confusion and misconception still around what it is. It is not a diet. However, that being said, eating plant-based and only plant-based is part of being a vegan, but it's so much more than that, because we want to take the focus off people. When we think about veganism, it's about the animals. It's about front and centering the animals, because it is about doing something for them, stopping harming them, and helping them. That's actually what being a vegan is. It is about animal liberation. It's about, it's more than a philosophy. For me, it's a moral imperative and a way of being kind in the world and doing the least amount of harm. It's about recognizing how we are deliberately harming animals every single day, and that the majority of the population of the world is colluding in that harm. And so it's about changing our own perspective first and owning that and taking responsibility for that, then not contributing with our dollars, no longer contributing indirectly with our dollars, by consuming animal products. Did I answer your question or?
No, it did. It's interesting this morning, Matt. I know you're going to want to chime in a little bit, but we had a conversation this morning in the car, you know, as we were discussing, obviously, that we were going to be doing this all together today. And, you know, for me, I was vegetarian for about 5 years or 6 years. And then this last year, I just fully became vegan again, right? I had tried it previously and I did it for a couple months, but so Matt, being very new to veganism, you know, we were sharing, you know, what kind of leads someone to become a vegan, and it for us, it kind of there's different ways. For me, no doubt about it, it was for the animals. It was definitely for the animals. I've always been an animal lover, and I had a very unique experience with a cow at a farm one day, and that was it. Changed my life. Whereas Matt comes from a very different perspective with it. So, babe, share, if you will.
So, I mean, my wife, she was vegetarian for 5-6 years, but I still ate meat. You know, first it was beef. I weaned off beef, was chicken. And then I started to have all kinds of health issues. I had diverticulitis, a couple different things. Some of them were very serious. In 2017, I got very sick. And I started to look at my diet. And then about 1.5 years ago, I got sick again. And I was like, all right, I have to make a radical decision. And I said, all right, I just gave up all meat, all dairy, all breads because of the gluten, completely changed everything. Just one day I was like, and my wife, she always hoped I would. And I always kid around with her and said, she's whispering in my ear when I'm sleeping, like, it's bad for you. It's bad for you. Goofing around. But I literally one day woke up January of 2020, Michele, and it was just like, I can't do this anymore because my health was suffering. And we talked about it in the car. If I had gone down the path I was eating a couple of years ago, I might not be here because of the impact it was having on the meats and the dairy on my digestive system. I mean, I get sick in 2017. I was on a high narcotic, one of the top 5 in the world, and I had to take it for 5 weeks because of the illness I had, the infection.
Yeah.
So for me, it was basically health. I had a choice to say, do I want to continue my life or do I want to feel bad? Now, for me, I love animals, always have. And we have 3 cats in a house. We feed 2 cats outside. We have a turkey that comes to the house. We have birds, we have everything come into our house. The turkey knocks on our back window when he wants to eat. It's just the wildest thing. So I've loved animals, but I've always kept a blind eye. So for me, it was all about my health. And when I did it, I literally dropped about 30 or 40 pounds during the lockdown. My health completely changed. Everything changed about me physically, and it transformed a lot of other things. But for me, it was like a wake-up call that, did I want to continue down the path, and will I enjoy it and then I feel bad, and I enjoy it and I feel bad, and I enjoy it and feel bad. You know, I eat a big meal and I feel crappy, or do I want to enjoy my life and my health? And for me, it was, it was a couple of weeks of like struggling, and it was like, I would never go back again in my life. And again, I love the animals, but looking at my health and the way I feel compared to how I felt a couple of years ago, and I look at pictures, I'm like, Literally, I'm down about 70 pounds in a couple of years. And a lot of it has to do with just eating the right foods and basically eating to live and not using it as an emotional crutch. Oh, I'm feeling bad. I'm going to run to McDonald's and get a Big Mac. I'm going to feeling bad. I'm going to do this. I need pizza. No, it's I need nourishment to fuel my body, period, end of sentence. And when you break that emotional bond, that is life-changing.
Yeah, and the bonus is that now we're not participating in something that is just bringing so much cruelty.
Yeah.
And Michele, I don't know how you feel about it, but it's like I tend to sometimes feel that a lot of people really don't have the courage, I'm going to say, to look at some of the film that's out there that would really help educate people a little bit more about how certain foods get to the supermarkets, end up on your plate. And I think if there was more of a willingness for people to see the cruelty and, you know, all the activities that go on behind the scenes, I think that would make a much, much bigger impact on it. But I know, you know, you and I and Matt, we went and visited Goats of Anarchy, right? We had that wonderful day together. I mean, I know you do work with them. I don't know if you want to speak a little bit about that, you know. You're welcome to.
It's one of the best ways, if any of this is resonating for people, to get started on this road of helping animals, is to go to a sanctuary. There are many of them. There are micro sanctuaries now popping up in people's backyards. So if you go to a sanctuary, sanctuaries are forever homes for mainly farm animals who were rescued from slaughter or very highly abusive situations.
Wow.
And you can go to a sanctuary and be eye to eye with the former victims of maybe your own, again, consumerism, your own ignorance. Because for most people, they're just ignorant of it. They don't recognize how much the animals are being harmed, and it's big business. You know, the animal agriculture industries are big business, so they put lots of dollars into marketing it and making it all seem okay. Like the cows are happy, the pigs are happy, and they're slaughtered humanely, and all of that is one of the biggest lies, you know, certainly that is out there. But please, I definitely encourage people to support local sanctuaries. Is a great way to get started. And then just remember it also from a spiritual level. You know, what do people believe? I mean, I know you have to search your own beliefs, but I will offer that animals, all animals, not just certain species, are souls. They are sentient beings. They are feeling just like you and me. They have emotions, and maybe even more so, importantly, they suffer and they feel pain.
Absolutely.
And so that energy doesn't just disappear. All the energy of every animal ever slaughtered, and they're slaughtered by the billions, 90 billion fish every year, 56 billion land animals every year. Where is that energy going? We're ingesting it, and it's also kind of going out into the ether. So I don't know. I could say a lot more about that, but
yeah, no, I know.
That is also very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. I really, really couldn't. You know, this kind of leads me into, again, you know, we're going to stay on animals just for another moment more, if you don't mind. But I know you offer pet loss support too. So if you want to, you know, go into that and how that kind of ties in and how people can actually reach out to you and join the groups and support groups that you have for others.
I love to talk about this. I love to talk about animals, of course. So one of the things that I did during the beginning of the pandemic was to complete a certification and intensive training course to become a pet loss bereavement specialist. Okay, so it is a specialty because pet parents who lose their pets ultimately are in a unique set of circumstances. Now, I will say, of course, that love is love, and therefore grief is grief. Not just pet owners. There are pet owners and there are pet parents. But if you think of yourself as a pet parent, that means that your beloved pet is family. So of course you are distressed, you're destroyed, you're racked by emotion when you lose your beloved pet. And what happens is there isn't as much support out there, and understanding for the grief experience of a pet parent versus when we lose a human loved one, which of course is absolutely, of course, traumatic and painful as well. So it's a bit disenfranchised. So that's just where I step in. I give one-on-one or group, basically emotional support. It's grief support, helping people understand the universality of what it feels like to lose a pet and help people move gradually, gently toward healing. So I do that one-on-one, and I also do right now online groups on a fairly regular basis. People can reach out if that's something that they are in need of, and ultimately every pet parent will be in need of that support because we do tend to outlive our beloved animals.
Wow. So now can people find that service and reach out to you on your website for that?
Yes. The best way to reach me and to find out everything about all the services that I offer, it's all on my website, michellegranberg.com. I'm also, of course, searchable on, Facebook and Instagram
And
as
YouTube,
well.
I'm sure. YouTube as well. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Terrific. Wonderful. Wonderful. Matt, is there anything else that you would like to bring to the table today?
No, it was just a pleasure, Michele. It's a pleasure to meet you and a pleasure, participate here and just have this discussion. You have a wealth of knowledge, and if anybody's looking for any of these services, please reach out to Michele. She's wonderful to talk to, and she's very supportive, and she's a great listener, and she's very open to help.
Yeah. We thank you so much, Michele.
Thank you, Michele.
We thank you for joining us, and to our viewers that are tuning in, we thank you so much for tuning in today. And from our hearts to yours, much love.
Thank you.
Thank you.